Hi, I'm James Sulkowski. I'm an artist from Pennsylvania, and I like to paint in the manner of the old masters. And welcome to another free art lesson. Today we're going to talk about the palette and the materials I like to use. And there's a reason this palette is set up the way it is. It's set up from light to dark, and I'm going to tell you what each of these colors is and the reason I've laid them out that way, and also we're going to talk about these grays. So let's start at the top here. We have titanium white, and then we have cadmium lemon yellow, cadmium yellow light. This is a cadmium yellow deep, cadmium orange, yellow ochre, cadmium red light, cadmium red medium, cadmium red deep. This is alizarin crimson. Next to that is raw umber, then cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, phthalo green, and ivory black. When I'm painting a still life or a portrait, this is the setup I'll have. And the grays are simply made with titanium white and ivory black. But there's a reason that these values are what they are. Let's start with the middle. The middle of the palette comes around the yellow ochre value. So I made a gray to match that, and we'll put it on the canvas in a minute. And then I have a medium gray so it matches cadmium red light. And then we have the more like the shadow grays, which are the lower part of the palette, like cadmium red deep. This lighter gray will match cadmium lemon yellow, no, cadmium yellow light. See, so watch what I do when I put this on the canvas. I'll put this yellow up here, and then we'll get a gray next to that, and I'll show you, how we want that value to be pretty much the same. So we're doing that all the way down here. And the grays control the intensity of the color. So that's the reason for this. And it's helpful to mix them before we start to paint. So we can just go from the palette to the painting. And we'll talk about the brushes here. I like to use the bristle brushes. These are white bristles, and you should have various sizes, like a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. Here's a nice wide brush here, and up to the 2-inch brush for background, because you want to cover the canvas very quickly with the larger brushes until we get to the end of the painting, and then we'll use the little sables. So we don't need too many sables, and these are rounds. See, they're round tip brush. So, a lot of students don't have enough brushes or enough variety of brushes, so that's why it's important to talk about that. And we could talk about the mediums. So I like to paint with a fast drying medium because I like to build up a painting. I don't want it to be really like a wet into wet when I go from day to day with the painting. So there are different mediums that work really well. And the ones that have alkyds in them are fast drying mediums. Look for those. And or just if it says artist painting medium, usually there's this is a mixture that'll help the paint dry a little quicker. Or you could make your own and make it with 1/3 of stand oil. This is a very thick linseed oil, and because it's thick, it'll dry quicker. And I like to put that with 1/3 of turpentine, distilled turpentine, and 1/3 of Damar varnish. And mix it all up, and it makes a really great medium. So just to clean the brush, though, I have mineral spirits. It's a nice odorless mineral spirits, keeps the brush clean and gets all the paint out of it. So, and finally, I'd say keep your palette toned. This is a nice wooden palette, and sometimes I'll paint on a gray palette. And the reason for that is so we could see all the colors. We wouldn't be able to see the white, for instance, if this was a white palette. So it's a lot better for showing up the color. And let's say this too, though. See, whenever I use the palette, I think of it this way. If I use this area to mix the lights, use the middle to mix the middle values, and use the right side of the palette, since I'm right-handed, I'll use that for the shadows and the darks. And if I'm organized here, I'll be organized when I go up to the canvas. So I think I've covered the materials, and then we'll be ready to paint. So I'm James Sulkowski. Thanks for joining me for this art lesson. If you want to see more of my work, go to jamessulkowski.com.